All right, so we are on day 102 of going through my old journals, and the quote for today says, "Gratitude is the finest blossom which springs from the soul." And it says, write all of the things you have to be grateful for. So if you're following along, just take a minute and think about all the things you're grateful for, or make a list, and I will let you know what I wrote. So on this one, I said, sorry, my cats are being crazy. I'm very fortunate to be where I'm at right now. Even though I've worked hard in some respects, I don't feel like I've worked hard enough to be here. One thing I'm grateful for is my house and property. It's only been more recently that I've realized how lucky I am to have my own land, especially being single and at my age. I'm so thankful that my grandparents decided to put the land in our name. So me and my sister, so I don't know if I've talked about this story. I think I've brought up the fact that I inherited like some property in a house. And like the reason, from what I understand, was my grandparents didn't trust leaving the property in my mom's name because they didn't trust my dad. They were worried that like if something happened to my mom and she passed away, that my dad may like, they didn't like the thought of the property potentially getting in his hands. And so they just went ahead and a long time ago, like when we were little, put it in mine and my sister's name. So they knew that the property would be passed on to us for sure. And so, yeah, like I'm very, very, like I didn't realize that that was such a big deal until I was at like I got really big into aquaponics for a while, and I wanted to have like a hydroponic or aquaponics farm. And so I was like taking some like workshops and courses on it. Like this was 15, 20 years ago, long time ago. And yeah, something got brought up, and I said that I had property. And back then I was like in my early 20s, and like there was a couple of men that just seemed shocked that I had property. And I guess I just didn't, because I live out in the country and it seems common for me to families to have property and to leave property to their families. I didn't realize that like in other parts of the country, like it's not common for somebody that's young to like own a house and property. And I mean, at that point, I didn't feel like I owned it yet because my grandparents like still were alive. But I've got like a big pasture. I've got a couple of acres, and so I did have the land to be able to start up a farm, whereas a lot of the other people that were in the workshop, like they would have needed to find like the land to do it. They were just doing it like in their basement or like in a small backyard or whatever. So I am pretty fortunate that I've got like, whenever I do decide like what I'm ultimately gonna do, like if I start a business, like I do have the space to like build something out there. So yeah, like I'm very, very, very fortunate for that. I said, even if I have a million other things to worry about, having somewhere to go will never be one of them. And yeah, like I also didn't realize the importance of just like having a home base, because I always thought I would have one with my parents or with my mom at least, but you know, things have been rocky with that. And so there's been some times that I felt like I didn't really have anywhere to go, but my grandparents' house was always like the safe place to go. Like I always knew that if I came by here, my grandma would always welcome me. And now that they've passed away, like I still have this place to kind of come to that's like home. And that's really nice and reassuring. And I know that like some people don't have that. I remember specifically there was this guy I followed on Facebook, and I don't even know how I knew him or how we connected on Facebook. But he would post quite a bit, and I never like interacted with him actually, but I would read his posts. And I know at one point, like I think he, even though he was like in his late 20s, he had still lived with his mother, and I don't think he worked, but I think he lived with his mother and had a couple of cats. And I remember when his mom died, again, I don't know this, I was just following him, but he was having a really rough time because he couldn't afford to like keep the place that he was living with his mother because his mother was dead and he didn't have an income, didn't have a job. And you know, that just kind of like hit me as like, I'm so lucky that I have this place, that I have a job, and I have the money to be able to pay like the property taxes and everything for it. And yeah, there was like for a while that he struggled just to deal with his mom's death and not having like a place to go, and he had to like not having a place to keep his cats, and you know, all of this stuff. And so like seeing that, I realized like I'm really lucky to have what I have. Anyway, I said I'm also grateful for my job and my boss. I really am. And I said, even if I don't appreciate it sometimes, I'm extremely fortunate to have a job that's flexible and pays as well as it does. And with that, I have to say, like, I do get stressed out with it sometimes, but I really honestly couldn't, at this moment, I couldn't ask for a better, like, work situation, because, like, I could have a job that pays a whole lot more. Like, I follow some listservs, for my field, and I see a lot of jobs coming in, and they pay substantially more than what I make right now. But for the amount of effort that I put in, and you know, my boss is really great, and to risk like having another boss or supervisor that's not as good, like I don't feel like it's worth it. And yeah, so I go on to say, you know, I'm glad that I have a job that's flexible and pays as well as it does. I think that's why I resent it sometimes. I feel like I'm not doing a good enough job to warrant how much I'm getting paid, and that gives me stress and anxiety. So even though I could have a job that pays higher, I feel like the amount of work that I do at my job, I think the amount of pay is about right. And I know, like, I was, prior to like this year, I was getting a lot of stress and anxiety over my job because I didn't feel like I was working hard enough. I didn't feel like, because this job is a salary, and I've always struggled like with hourly jobs. Like, I would get there on time, but it was just in a nick of time. And I don't know if I talked about this before, because I can't remember. I got cut off yesterday when I was trying to film this, but like, having that, like, not having, I enjoy now not having, I'm rambling on this, I'm sorry, but I enjoy not having someone like watching over me and micromanaging me. But at the same time, I've always felt like I was kind of the person that needed that, because like I've mentioned a few times, I'm pretty sure I have ADHD, and I'm one of those that runs on like the adrenaline of meeting deadlines and things like that. And so having this job that it's not like I don't have laid out weekly responsibilities and my deadlines are kind of long term, it has been kind of hard for me to be self-motivated and to like kind of delegate my time properly. Like, I think they call it, I have executive function issues. But my habit tracker has helped me a lot. But prior to like really getting things in line with that, like, I was really struggling with feeling like, you know, getting my 8 hours of work in a day, and feeling like I was behind, and I felt like I didn't deserve my job and how much I was making. But now I'm feeling a lot better. And I said, I feel like I'm being more productive and I'm starting to be more deserving of my job. And I do. I feel like I'm definitely getting on the right path this year for sure. You know, now that I've kind of recognized that I may have ADHD, and I've been looking at like resources to help people specifically that have ADHD and different tips and tricks, just recognizing that has helped me a lot in kind of finding my own way to deal with it. And you know, I just always thought there was something wrong with me, and like, why can't I just get it together? Why do I keep, you know, I did well enough, but I struggled a lot, and it was just the stress and anxiety was building up. And I am grateful that I finally feel like I'm starting to like get it together, to where I'm starting to feel like I'm being successful in a way that's not just causing me stress and anxiety all the time to get there. But yeah, things are starting to get better for sure. And I go on to say, I wish I had people in my life to be thankful for. And I think at this time was maybe a time that I felt like I really didn't have anybody. But now I've kind of got my roommate, and our relationship is really good right now. And typically when I do have relationships, it's just one person. Like, I just have one person that I kind of stick to. I don't know if that's like, they call it codependent or what, but I don't know if that's what it is. I've just heard people say that, but I do feel like I get a relationship with like one person and that's it. But I don't know if it's codependent, because I feel like codependent is like kind of a toxic way, but I don't feel like it's toxic. Like, I really enjoy my roommate. That's the one person that I kind of like communicate well with, but I don't feel like I'm fine with being alone too, but it's just kind of better that I do have like a person to kind of talk to. But then I go on to say, hopefully someone great will come into my life soon. For now, my social gratitude goes to my cats. So yeah, if I don't have someone in my life, I'm pretty okay with just having some little cats. And I have 6 of them, so they give me enough. Right, boo-boo? So yeah, I am definitely lucky and grateful, and yeah, I feel like I'm at a good place right now. So anyway, sorry, that was kind of long and rambling, but that's what I have for day 102. Hopefully you guys can find some things that you're grateful for. I didn't put my health. I am grateful for my health too. I feel like I'm pretty lucky. I don't have a lot of like things. Like, I don't really have any health issues. What else? I felt like there was one other thing I was thinking of that I missed. Yeah. I'm grateful for a lot. I'm sure there's a lot of things I'm forgetting, but yeah, that's what I have. So let me know what you're grateful for. Hopefully you can find at least a couple of things out there. You're alive. You're watching YouTube, so that's something. But anyway, I will be back tomorrow with day 103.